First of all, thanks to the CBIA for having me, and thanks to all of you for investing in Connecticut, working in Connecticut, and believing in Connecticut. It's our job as legislators now to make your job easier and create a fertile ground for job growth and income growth for everybody. The preeminent way to do that is, as the governor and my colleagues were mentioning before, protect the fiscal guardrails that were put into place in 2017 when we had a 50-50 split in the Senate. It's logical. Just as the governor said, it's fair to taxpayers to say you cannot, as a state government, raise spending by more than household income growth or inflation. That's fair, that's just, and in the long run, it'll accrue to our benefit. There's even more that we have to do, I think, on the fiscal front. Our state debt burden, even though we slightly reduced debt issuance, went from the third highest in the country to the second highest in the country as a percentage of GDP from 2017 to 2022, because other states were limiting their debt even more. Yes, we paid down $8 billion out of the rainy day fund of our pension liabilities, but our pension liabilities only went down by $2 billion in that period of time, meaning that there's still a structural issue there of high cost. But there's a lot we can do beyond the budget in terms of regulatory reform. As Chris and Eleni mentioned, it shouldn't cost you $600 or $700 or $800 as a middle-class skilled worker to work in Connecticut every single year just to pay for the right to work because you require a license. About a quarter of our workforce requires a license, everything from electricians to contractors to nurses. Some of them are paying nearly $1,000 a year. I think tree trimmers pay like $900 a year. Preschool teachers, to get their license initially, I think pay $800 or $900 a year. These are not highly paid people. And we should be saying, come to Connecticut, work in Connecticut, please. We're rolling out the red carpet. And yes, we impose these totally unfair and unjust costs on them every year. Let's cut that to a max of $100. Let's provide more reciprocity to licensed workers, skilled workers who want to come and work in Connecticut, recognize their out-of-state licenses. We've started to do that. We should do it more. Let's create a pathway to work for people who go around the college process, who recognize that maybe skilled labor is the way to go. We have very strict licensing caps in this state. For every 3 licensed workers, we only allow companies to have 1 apprentice. That's unfair. That makes it more expensive to build the housing that Representative Kavros-DeGraw is talking about. Let's loosen some of the red tape in the healthcare sector that have created a situation where Connecticut's healthcare costs, according to a recent study, are the 5th highest in the country. Reform Certificate of Need, the unfair permission slip process that takes about a year on average to allow any licensed healthcare provider to expand care, add hospital beds, buy that MRI machine, and so on. Totally ridiculous. Give more choice in health insurance space. Association health plans should be a priority as well. And as the governor said, we got to get those those electricity costs in check. I'm sure we'll talk about that more later, but having the 3rd highest electric rates in the country after Hawaii, which is an island, in California, which lost its mind, is not going to be economically sustainable for our state. Energy costs are the thing that I think all of us hear the most about from our constituents. I have gotten hundreds, if not thousands, of emails from constituents saying, how the heck am I supposed to pay an energy bill of this size? Even with a decent income, it's hurting seniors, it's hurting low and middle income workers the most, and it makes it very, very difficult to create new jobs and to invest in our state. And I think there are options to get costs under control in the long run. Listen, I don't think that we will be among the cheapest states in terms of energy rates, even if I got everything I wanted. But I think we could push our rates back towards average or slightly above average, again, from the 3rd highest in the country. I'm not just here to cast stones. I think that we have an obligation, even if we're in the minority, to offer solutions. So I co-authored a 6-point energy plan. It starts with, even if we do not eliminate significantly cutting those public benefits charges from our electric bill. Most of those are discretionary government programs that the legislature passed, and they should have to go through the regular appropriations process of public debate and vetting. And if they do that, I think they'll be cut down for efficiency overall. But they should not be funded via an automatic hidden tax through your electric bill as a matter of course. That's unfair to residents in our state. We should cap the cost of state-directed energy purchases at no more than 2 or 3 the market rate of electricity. Yet the state forces us to purchase as consumers energy from certain preferred producers at as much as 10 times the market rate for electricity. That should shock you. That's part of what's in your public benefits. We should have an all-of-the-above clean energy strategy in this state where we have all forms of clean energy compete on a relatively equal playing field against one another, and may the best rise to the top, rather than having all these siloed programs and bureaucracies in order to pick winners and losers in the energy industry. Eventually, we're going to need to find a solution to increase natural gas capacity from the West. Listen, we were able to cut our greenhouse gas emissions in half in the last 20 years as an electric grid in New England because we switched to more natural gas from oil and coal. That was done via the market. It wasn't done by any state directive. So it has actually improved our environmental footprint as a region. But the fact of the matter is, in 20 years, we're going to have rolling blackouts in this region if we do not do anything to improve the energy reliability, increase energy supply, and there's going to be a federal and interstate interest in just increasing the capacity on the existing pipeline in the existing rights of way marginally. That will have an enormous benefit to our overall grid. We need strong regulation. We need fair regulation to protect consumers. It should be predictable as well. There is a lot we can do, I think, to bend the long-term cost curve down. Again, I could sit in the minority and just pound the table that we have the 3rd highest energy rates, and that's unfair. But I think we have a responsibility to offer solutions, and I think those 5 or 6 points will actually improve the long-term cost structure for residents, for businesses, and in order to improve economic growth in the state.